Welcome back.
Yeah. Of course, we are back. Yeah.
Yes, yep. We're back on Open Your Eyes, and we are joined by Dr. Jorge Polanco from INCAP. He's the country coordinator of INCAP. We're also joined by Cuello, who is a nutritionist with the Ministry of Health, and Miss Penelope Casasola, who is an advanced lactation consultant. They're here to talk to us about World Breastfeeding Week. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning, Belize.
And today is the official start of World Breastfeeding Week,
yes.
right?
Yes,
and it continues right through to August 7th.
Well,
right?
it includes August 8th because we have a weekend in between, so we lose a day, so we add it on at the end.
All right.
This is such an important conversation for us to have, and I think, I look forward to hearing all the latest information that's coming out and the efforts that are being made from both the NGO and the international community. So I want to start off with a backdrop, kind of just looking at the importance of breastfeeding. Let's start there. Why is it that we have such a focus on encouraging families to breastfeed?
Well, we know that breast milk is safe and it provides all the nutrients that the baby needs for proper growth and development. It has the right mix of protein, fats, all the vitamins and minerals that the infant needs at that stage in life. So, and it's not only beneficial for the child, but for the mother as well. When the mother breastfeeds, it reduces their risk of certain cancers like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and NCDs like type 2 diabetes. So it is beneficial for both the child and the mother.
Yeah. Now, the very important distinction to be made, because I know a lot of people who say, yeah, I breastfeed my child, but what you're aiming for is exclusive breastfeeding.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Well, exclusive breastfeeding is when the child receives only breast milk for the first 6 months. So no water, no sugar water, no other milk, no other formula other than breast milk for the first 6 months. At the 6 months, the breast milk isn't providing the sufficient calories, the sufficient nutrients that the baby needs. That's when we add meat and food. Well, that's why we call it complementary feeding, because it's complementing the breast milk. It's not to stop breastfeeding at the 6 months, but to continue it and complement it with other foods so that the child still receives all the nutrients that he or she needs.
And how long should they continue breastfeeding for?
It is recommended up to the 2 years for breastfeeding, but up to the year at least.
Okay. Now, there are significant impacts, and I think you were alluding to that. Benefits for both the child and the mother. Let's talk about the difference between a mother and baby who exclusively breastfeed. What's the difference in the baby?
A significant difference that has been shown in different research in Brazil and in South America is that the neurological development is such that the IQ of that infant is higher than the average. And you know the implications of having a higher IQ.
Yeah.
The impact is seen at primary school, at secondary level. And of course, at the end, the education plays a role in the welfare of the adult. So, but that's on the long term. The immediate effects is that research has also proven that the rate of hospitalization for certain diseases, for example, pneumonia, is much less. Let me put it the other way. Those who do not breastfeed could be hospitalized as much as 17 times more.
Whoa.
Compared to those who do not breastfeed.
Yeah.
That is just one example.
Wow.
And of course, the frequency of other diseases such as diarrhea, for example, gastrointestinal problems, is less, and that's proven. Here in Belize, we've had that experience. Down south, have had the voluntary testimony of mothers, even without I bringing up the topic. They're saying, I have never been with this child to the hospital, and that caught our attention, and we asked why, and they said because we are breastfeeding, and of course the child is very healthy.
Yeah.
So we only come out here, and they pointed to a field for the vaccines. So that's evidence here locally where families in the rural area have recognized the importance of breastfeeding. Just to add a little something in regards to what Ms. Cuello said when she mentioned exclusive breastfeeding and the benefits to the mother.
Yeah.
There is also evidence that the more time a mother breastfeeds, she also lowers her risk of ovarian or breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
So, and even for every child, all those months added for the different newborns she would have had, the more months, the more time, it lowers the risk of her having ovarian or breast cancer. So there's a direct impact on the mother.
You know, I'm always fascinated when we have this conversation because there's so many benefits. It makes so much sense that people would, or mothers would, exclusively breastfeed. But the problem is we have working women, and our maternity leave is only 14 weeks. And some of that is spent before the baby's born. So the primary challenge, I'd imagine, comes when someone has to reintegrate themselves back into work. Now, Penny, I know you are the super volunteer going into hospitals and helping to coach people through the breastfeeding process. Tell me about what you find to be the barriers for people to continue or even start exclusive breastfeeding.
Well, one of the barriers is that they don't know. And so we have a challenge to educate and to reinforce that education for every baby and for every family, regardless of where they are living. One of the things that they appreciate is knowing that even if their baby gets some kind of sickness, it's very brief and it's very minimal. So that's a relief to any family, knowing that, you know, that immunity that they are getting from the breast milk protects that child, and they won't have to be taking time off from work. And the workplace, the productivity in the workplace will not be affected. It's also to educate employers that you have better productivity from individuals who are not taking time off every time the baby is sick. Yes, they need to get the baby to the clinic to get immunizations and so on and follow up. However, the more we can educate employers, and it's not that we are just picking on anybody, it's in general, it's universal, that a woman in the workplace can produce enough milk to breastfeed that baby exclusively. So regardless of the shortness of the period for the maternity leave or paternity leave, which is shorter, we teach them how to express the milk, store the milk, transport the milk to the babysitter. Better still, create an environment where the baby is in the same building, which is the ideal, that if it's next door, or the baby can come to them, or they get time off. And there are employers, and I have to name BEL as being one of them, and BWS actually give that mother an extra hour for lunch so that she can spend more time. And there are situations where they can have flexible working time, so that they can go in at a later time, stay later, or you know, they work it out with the HR department. And it's one of the things we encourage mothers to do. The minute you know you're pregnant, go to prenatal care, get breastfeeding education, and talk to your HR.
And you said, you mentioned paternity leave just now.
Yes.
So, of course, that brings us to what can dad's role be when the mother is breastfeeding, especially if she's doing it exclusively?
Yes. Dad's role is profound. And I really have to mention this statistics that shows that if a woman desires to breastfeed and she doesn't have that encouragement and support from the father, she'll only breastfeed 26% of the time. But where the father is involved and is creating an environment that is mentally and physically supportive, she will breastfeed exclusively 98% of the time, which is really, really amazing. And he can take off the time. I believe most places give 1 week, but they can take personal leave time. In fact, I know families that do that, take time off. But then the extended family, the mother, the mother-in-law, the big sisters, you know, even neighbors. And I heard it once say that the best gift you can give a family for a baby shower is your time. Time to clean the house, do the shopping, wash the clothes, so that the mother can spend time learning her new baby. Really important, because there's not only the physical aspect of the challenge, but the mental health as well. That father provides a buffer. He can hold the baby, skin to skin. He can she can express the milk, he can feed the baby with the express breast milk. So she can take a nap, she can take a shower, you know, alleviate that stress.
Recover. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I wanna talk about some of the things that we commonly hear, and this is always an opportunity to educate.
Yes.
A lot of times, women choose not to breastfeed for a number of different reasons. Perhaps they have challenges in even starting.
Absolutely.
The baby won't latch on.
Yes.
Some women opt not to breastfeed because they're worried about the aesthetic changes that may take place in the breast.
Yes.
A lot of people also feel that the breast milk is just not enough. You know, the baby isn't full, so they supplement with formula from very early. Let's talk about some of these common misconceptions and try to set the record straight. Anyone? Yeah.
Okay. The truth is that most women are able to breastfeed exclusively.
Yeah.
In the case where they may have some medical condition which they can't, yes, supplementing, because the baby must be fed at all costs.
Yeah.
The baby has to be fed. But speaking specifically about exclusive breastfeeding, if we can educate them when they're ready to hear, which is during a pregnancy, I really emphasize that point, because a lot of people think, oh, it's just a walk in the park and we'll do this after the baby's
you
born.
just put the baby in magic.
Yes, it's a real challenge. It really is. It's wonderful and it's beneficial, but it has to be, the babies know what to do. That's the other thing. The babies know what to do. So give the baby free range. The baby goes skin to skin at birth, and the baby crawls and latches on. Just like a kangaroo can, or human babies do know how to latch on. We have to educate the mothers not to be swaddling the baby or putting mitts on the baby's hand, but giving the baby that skin to skin access around the clock. Put breaks for resting and so on, but it's that assuring them that you can't spoil a baby by holding it.
You mean you can't get used to hand?
That's the other way of saying it. That holding the baby, in some of our communities we have that, and you notice the babies are calm.
Yeah.
The babies are signaling when they're hungry, so you feed your baby. You don't wait for a cry. A cry is very distressing, especially in premature babies. You don't want that baby to cry because he'll lose weight. You know, that energy used up in crying, the baby will lose weight. So holding the baby, and if you, in some societies, babies are strapped on at the back or in the front in some countries. And that's one of the reasons why, because the baby has constant access to food. And we want mothers to understand that. We want families, extended families, communities to understand holding the baby is ensuring that that baby gets the food it needs from 6 in the morning to 6 in the morning next day.
Yeah.
It's a 24-hour challenge.
So what you're saying is that you don't actually set a cycle of feeding.
We don't use a clock for feeding. The baby signals with its eyes, it blinks its eyes, and the first sign that it wants to eat is rapid eye movement, licking its lips, searching, rooting. But by the time the baby gets to the hand sucking stage or your skin sucking stage, is already frustrated because he's saying, you know, where is this food that I'm looking for? Give me access to it, please. And then the baby will cry because he's distressed. So crying is not a good thing. We don't encourage anybody to wait for a cry.
Yeah.
We want them to be aware, be near their babies, be able to recognize it, and you'll have a quieter life.
Now, it's also a fact that I know people talk of breastfeeding being so painful because they get sore nipples. And you actually talk about the fact that that's a challenge, because that's a problem that arises because the baby's not latching on properly.
Correct.
Right?
A deep latch is the ideal.
Yeah.
And that happens because the baby opens its mouth wide. So all those things are steps in which you see the signs the baby wants to eat. You bring the baby, and I'll demonstrate by holding my baby, Diane, as close as possible to the body, belly to belly, so that the face is on the breast and the baby can breathe. I have to emphasize that. One of the concerns is that I can't hold my baby like that, can't mash your nose. I've heard that story too, but it really and truly is a closeness of that baby to the breast, at the breast.
Okay.
The latch on, if it hurts, take the baby off, reposition the baby, and try again until it's pain-free. Because a painful latch is damage to the breast.
Yeah.
And I need to mention too that at times, it doesn't happen very often, but at times, it's not because the mother is failing to hold the baby the correct way. Sometimes it has something to do with the baby's mouth. If the baby has a tight tongue or a tight lip, baby cannot latch on. And there's a very simple procedure to correct that. And we do have doctors who
Can fix
can
that, yeah.
fix that.
So maybe your pediatrician can help you to distinguish
It
if
has to
that's
be
a problem.
pediatric surgeon or ENT or
Yeah.
dental surgeon, but
Yeah.
we have had cases where we've picked up on it
Yeah.
early enough to get it corrected.
Now, Ada, you know, when you look at the nutritional value of breast milk, it is amazing. It's probably Mother Nature's #1 superfood. And I wanted you to talk about the fact that a lot of mothers feel that the babies are not getting enough food, or when they first feed and it's not milky white, they think something is wrong. Talk to us about just how amazing the breast milk is and how it adapts for the baby.
Yeah, so there are different milks when the baby is born. The first milk is the colostrum. That's the most important in reality. They call it liquid gold, not only because of the color, but because of the composition of the colostrum. It has a lot of antibodies. It's perfect for the baby to build its defenses. It has a lot of white blood cells, for example. So that's the first milk, and it is very minimal that comes out. So that's why sometimes the mothers do get a little worried about that. But at that age, the newborn, you know, their stomach is the size of a marble, so they don't really require much. So the amount isn't to be too concerned about that. After the colostrum, they have the transition milk, where the different nutrients start to build up a different composition, then more protein, more fat, different vitamins and minerals. And then after that, we have the mature milk, which contains the right mix of all the nutrients. It has a lot of antibodies as compared to the formula that you're not getting all these natural antibodies that you get from the breast milk. So the amount, yes, sometimes the mothers do get worried that they're not producing enough, but you have to remember the child is a newborn, their stomach isn't that big, they don't require that much, so they don't need to be worried that, you know, they're not filling their child.
So the baby will eat until it's full? That's what will happen?
And let go. The other is that it will decide if it's a snack or a meal, just like we do. Take a drink, you have coffee in the morning, later on you might...
snacks are okay?
Snacks are okay. Snacks are good. Eat all day. There's a saying by this doctor in England that says children like chicken should always be pecking.
Oh, okay.
But in addition to what Ada said, the child knows when it's full temporarily, a snack.
Yeah.
Knows when it's full, it's an entree. I've had soup,
A whole
I've had
meal.
a whole meal, I've had dessert. Or I'll come back for dessert later. So the timing is the baby's timing, not a clock timing.
Okay.
And also babies go through growth spurts, and those times they make signals to the breast. They tell actually by their behavior, I'm growing, I need more, and in 24 hours I'll need it. So they do what is called cluster feeding when they go into a growth spurt. And it looks like that's one of the areas where we have to really boost and encourage and support families, because somebody's going to come in and say, you're not got enough milk. You know, and it's all about programming that breast to produce the amount that's desired and required, and also in anticipation that, I mean, nature is so wonderful that we just don't give it credit as much as we should, because formula can't do that. It can't anticipate. And in fact, the milk that the baby is getting in the morning is not the same milk that the baby is getting at night. It's a different composition. So within one day, it's different. From time to time, like every 2 weeks is a growth spurt. And back to the latch on, that there are options how you want to have this baby latch on. What is your comfort? The mother's comfort. She needs to be pain-free and comfortable to get a good latch. She can do anything she wants. You know, we teach some basic positions, but the mother will design her own. What's good for her, what's successful for that baby.
And I know it's very difficult. Some people still do the sugar and water thing, and that's just unhealthy in general. So we can talk about that. But it's also, I mean, it's so hot these days. For parents, they're thinking, you know what, I'm thirsty, I need water. The baby must need water as well.
No, no. Exclusively breast milk up to the 6 months. No water, no other. We have to remember again that the child is very small.
Yeah.
And when we add water, we're diluting, the blood and everything in the child as well. So they only require the breast milk at that point.
So the breast milk will quench any
Yes,
thirst.
it has all the water. Yeah, it has all the composition, all the nutrients, and all the water that the child does need.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, what's been said earlier is that more or less the composition of the milk does change over time and more or less adapts to the needs of the baby. But how does the mother's health influence that as well?
So the mother, when they are breastfeeding, they do require more calories. So the mother that did gain some baby weight will probably lose weight because all the extra weight will be used for the breastfeeding. But the mother that maybe did not have any baby weight left will require extra calories, so they will actually need to eat more so that they don't lose weight. What they eat, they can just have a balanced meal, protein, your vegetables, your fruits, have all the vitamins and minerals that an adult requires. But they will need maybe an extra snack or a bigger portion during lunch or breakfast so that they can meet the caloric demand of breastfeeding.
Yeah. Dr. Polanco, there has been a lot of education over the years in urging women to exclusively breastfeed their children. How are we doing?
If I refer to the results of the mixed survey, the last one was in 2015. There was an increase in Belize. The second to last one of the year 2011, the rate was about 14 point something. And then the last one of 2015, it increased to 33.2 or there,
wow,
33%. So it was a little more than double, which showed, which reflected the impact of what the Ministry of Health personnel has been doing on a day-to-day basis, because that's one of the day-to-day responsibilities of public health nurses and rural health nurses, and all personnel that go out into the community, even at the urban towns at the primary level, personnel promote breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding. So there was an increase. I would want to believe that for the next mixed survey, which is a national survey, that rate would have increased. I am saying so on the assumption that the breast milk has always had a constant effort by everybody, by PAHO, INCAP, the private sector, and the Ministry of Health, of course. Apart from the exclusive breastfeeding, there's another indicator that we call the predominant breastfeeding, which means that out of everything that they eat, breast milk is still more, and that was 50%. So even though it was not exclusive breastfeeding, they still, 50% of the women still breastfed during those 6 months. So it's not that breastfeeding was exclusively.
So those are the ones who maybe supplemented a bit of formula or added water or something like that.
That is correct.
Okay.
So so we will see what the other mix reflects. But I would want to say that without having the survey as yet, just looking at the efforts of the ministry, that rate should increase. There's a constant education. Community health workers are trained on a continuous basis. Part of their curriculum, if I should use that term, at the local level is promoting breastfeeding.
Now, you mentioned the private sector, and I think that's an interesting partner. Because clearly formula is available because they're private companies that import them. What's been done, and you talked about moving towards the international marketing standards. So in some parts of the world, you can't advertise formula for children who should be breastfed. Talk to me about what the efforts are locally and what it's been like to work with the private sector.
Okay, when I refer to the private sector, if you notice, I looked at Ms. Benny, because I know she works with them on an individual basis. But yes, the private sector has been approached, offering them the training to their staff for the monitoring of the International Code of Breast Milk Substitutes. They are aware of it, to my knowledge, at least for the last 5 years. no formal training has been done at the hospital level of the private sector. But they are aware. It has been offered to them by the Ministry of Health and PAHO and INCAP, in the sense that let them see what it is, let them see all what it entails, and then decide. Because indeed, it is a challenge for the private sector, in the sense that they have to see the public health impact overall versus other interests that may be within the institution, within the hospital setting.
Yeah.
And so currently the private sector hospitals have not been certified as yet.
As baby friendly.
As baby friendly.
Yeah.
Only the government hospitals. But efforts are being done. The connection that we have is that some of the staff work within the public sector, and our hope is that they could be, what word could I use, messengers, you know, in regards to the promotion of the breastfeeding within the private sector. There are some private physicians who believe in it and who actually refer their patients to Ms. Penny.
But this is, I find that to be such an interesting point, and I can reflect to an experience a couple years ago in a private institution where there was no knowledge of the need for exclusive breastfeeding. And I think people access private healthcare because they expect a better standard. But this isn't some pie in the sky concept. All the research says that exclusive breastfeeding is the optimal standard for any newborn baby. What is being done to get them to buy in, and what would be reasons as to why a private institution would not want to go that route?
Let me take it from this perspective. I think the challenge lies in the fact that at the prenatal setting, when the young lady gets to know she is pregnant, it's at that point that all efforts should be done to sensitize, to inform, to educate that young lady of the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding. It will reach to a point that then she will demand, I will breastfeed. But if that person is not fully sensitized, then that gap will make the difference. And many times we would take things for granted. We would assume that every woman knows of the benefits. But no, you have, if a young lady is 18 years old, she has never, it's her first experience. She does not come from a family where you have that closeness and where her mother or grandmother would provide that information. She grew on her own, so she doesn't know. And if at the level of the prenatal setting, the outpatient setting, that is not a priority, she will not learn. So she will reach to the moment of delivery without being fully informed, fully educated. And I like to use the word educated because it's more than just being informed. You know, you grasp that information, you believe in it, you see the impact it will have on your newborn and on you, on the immediate moment and on the long term. And then they behave differently. I know of cases where they would go to the private sector and they say, I will breastfeed. And that's a result of being sensitized in the prenatal clinic. So just to add on another theme that is being promoted is the role of the fathers. So if the fathers are there from day one, as you said, it's extremely challenging, especially if the women are working. But if the father is there and she sees that support from everybody, I can breastfeed. It won't be like my first child, or it won't be like my second child. I can do it. No, but there is a need of that peer support, family support, the father especially, the workplace support, because within the workplace, the management has to be sensitive to the issue. Men could be very good managers, but if they're not sensitive to breastfeeding, it
imagine
puts
if
them
I
nowhere.
had a male boss and I have to go to them to talk about my need to pump or to express during the day.
So this topic of promoting breastfeeding in the workplace is repeated every year. Hopefully, I know these type of changes take time, but hopefully we should be reaching to a point where it will be incorporated. Let me take the opportunity to say right now that the Ministry of Health, along with the Ministry of Health, the breastfeeding policy is being reviewed. And that is there, and it will be inserted again, the promotion of breastfeeding in the workplace. And my vision is that there will be a lot of promotion to really assist the public sector, the private sector, well, all workplaces, public and private, in having enabling environments for it. It's not a difficult thing, but the effort is to really inform and sensitize them.
And of course, enabling doesn't include the bathroom, just to be clear. I wanted to bring it back to a point that was mentioned, which is looking at the achievements of our public health sector, and that is, KHMH is a baby-friendly certified hospital, which means everybody down to maintenance knows how to help a mother to breastfeed. And in fact, we're having another public health institution being certified this week. Talk to me about what that means and which institution has now met the criteria.
Well, baby-friendly, the hospital initiative is that yes, all the staff are informed about the benefits of breastfeeding, and like Dr. Polanco said, they are like messengers for the promotion and encouragement of breastfeeding. In these hospitals, in these institutions that are certified, we do not promote any type of breast milk substitute. So the hospital is not supposed to have any bottles, any formulas, anything of that sort, any cereals that can be used instead of the breast milk. So the only thing that they do have sometimes is a cup where they would feed the child the expressed breast milk, but no bottles. The use of bottles is discouraged. I think all the public health hospitals, the regional hospitals, are certified baby friendly, as well as some polyclinics. Cleopatra White will be certified baby friendly this coming week. So that's a big achievement, a big accomplishment for the ministry as well, that another polyclinic is being certified.
That's good news.
That's a big step. That's a major step.
All right, so let's
all the primary care centers in the Ministry of Health, hospitals nationwide. Belize is the only one that hasn't got all the clinics, but we have Matron Roberts now. We have in Cleopatra.
So let's round off the conversation by looking at how fathers can help, because I'm sure there are probably some dads with a pregnant wife right now saying, okay, she's the one with the breast, she's gonna feed, how can I possibly help in getting her through this phase?
When we do teach, we teach the family. So the father is included. We invite mother-in-law, mother to come to those educational settings. And in fact, this week on the 6th, we're having an evening just to celebrate those families, pregnant and breastfeeding families, to come for an hour and a half at the Gateway Youth Center, where we're going to have speakers who are going to be men who have walked this walk and are there as support. And that's one of the other things too, is that peer support goes a long way. Those families who have been pioneers are now those people who are the backup. So we can pick up the phone and say, in Belmopan, there's a family, it could be a neighbor or somebody within reach who can go over and help. And I think that has helped to expand the support system. We have fathers who take time off, as I said, not only the 1 week, but the additional time off. So they are spokespeople to those who need it. So it's not only a institutional or professional endeavor, it's a community-wide endeavor to educate the families, support man-to-man support, family-to-family support. And that's why I'm hoping and praying that the statistics will show that has made a difference.
All right. So any other activities taking place this week that we need to know about?
Maybe I could elaborate on the event for August 8th, which is the launching of the monitoring team of the Ministry of Health, who would have the responsibility to monitor the implementation of the International Code of Marketing for Breast Milk Substitutes. So last year, there was a very good meeting. We had a full participation of public and private sector, where the International Code was presented to them again. And mention was made that it was the plan of the Ministry of Health to begin the monitoring of this implementation. This is something that the Belize signed on to internationally. And so then the team has been selected. The terms of reference are being developed. They will be launched. And the first step would be to begin the monitoring at the level of the public facilities. That's the first step, one step at a time. It should not be a difficult task simply because all the hospitals have already been certified. But the truth is to ensure that indeed the implementation is done, the code, the actions outlined within the code are being implemented within the health facilities. So that will be the first phase. The private sector is aware of this initiative from years ago. But last year we had it because we said, in case there is new personnel within the private sector in regards to the distributors and importers of formula, for them to know what's the status, the efforts of the ministry. So that's something very important. It was always there, it was always been said, but now the idea is to have very specific terms of reference for that technical monitoring team.
Nice. All right. And of course, once again, the theme is looking at empowering parents to enable breastfeeding. Thank you so much for coming in and giving us all this information, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for having us.
And also good luck to the parents out there who are starting their journey in exclusive breastfeeding as well. We are going to go ahead and take a break now, and when we come back, we'll be talking about how GIS can contribute to national development. Stay tuned.